more fun. So, Crimewatch. In the previous talk, they stole what I was going to do, but who knows what Crimewatch is? Put your hand up if before today you have heard of Crimewatch. Quite a few, okay. Now keep your hands up if you think you know what Crimewatch does. I should probably keep my hand up as well, because this will be a short lecture. Okay, a few people. So, what does it do? Well, Crimewatch does aggression flagging. So, you shoot somebody, they get flagged to you, they can shoot you back, then somebody reps them, and so on. And so it's the whole chain of who can shoot who and what happens when you do. It does loot rights. So, somebody puts a can out, or you kill an NPC, and someone can take from it, but somebody can't. Kill mails. We all know what they are. Jump and dock aggression lockouts. This is when you are being shot at a gate and you shoot back, and then you think, no, I can't do this. You try to jump, and it says, no, recent acts of aggression, you cannot jump forever. And you probably die on the gate. Some of you guys are going to be familiar with Concord and GCC. Hands up if you've ever been Concorded. Good, plenty of you. Right, that's nice. It does this, and it does this, and actually it does quite a lot of stuff. And that is kind of one of the problems with Crimewatch. I'm not going to go and explain all of these things. You can read them, and you probably know what most of them are. So that is actually... When we started doing this, and I tried to map out what Crimewatch is doing, and so we generated this, which is basically all of the functions, or at least a lot of the functions in Crimewatch, and the ones that call each other. And it's just a big web of mess. I don't know if you can read any of those names, but it might give away some of the stuff that it's doing in there if you can. So this is a problem, because it's grown and grown and grown. And there's actually a name for this kind of problem. It's called the big ball of mud. It's where you start with something, and it does what it's doing okay, and then you add a bit more, and you add a bit more, and you add a bit more, and eventually you've just got this, in this case, a big ball of something. And it just does too much, and you can't really kind of go in and change things. So if you want to make a modification, it's really tricky just to make this one change in isolation without having ripple effects, and I'll give an example of one of those in a minute. So, how did we get this way? In the beginning, there was Concord, and if anybody hasn't seen this animation, it's quite an old one, but I think it's a really good one, Concord Oakland. Now, actually, it wasn't Concord in the beginning, but that was like way, way back in time, and because people were doing things, then Concord had to be sort of added as they are. Concord used to be really simple. So you did something bad, Concord came along. And there was a very kind of narrow definition of what something bad was. But then we started to add things, and it got kind of more complex. So things like loot rights. So now you can steal, but then if you steal, then this guy can come and shoot you. We had things like kill rights and so on. And it got more and more complex, and Crimewatch started to do many, many, many things. So yeah, so all the features by themselves are quite small, but when you combine them together, you get kind of exponential complexity. And Crimewatch is probably the green line on here, and features goes to the right. Kind of we don't like that in software because it's not very nice to deal with. So this kind of leads to unforeseen problems. So you have all of these different things. Behind the scenes, they're all kind of mapped to the same set of data. They share a lot of commonality. So when you change one of these things, there's a chance that some other thing that you don't even realize is linked by some indirect web of kind of state can also be modified. So as an example, one of them, which happened kind of recently, a change was made to the way that people get grouped and put onto kill mails to fix just a random defect that we had. And it tested, and kill mails worked fine. But indirectly, it caused a problem where the people who were shooting NPCs, and when we worked out how many people killed an NPC, and it relied on the same data, that changed. So now only the person who got the final blow on the NPC gets the security status boost. And some people aren't so happy about this. But this is a defect. It's going to be fixed. I think we've already said this on the forums, so we will get that sorted out pretty soon. So what can we do to fix this? Because we kind of want to add new things to Crimewatch, but it's more and more difficult to add these big features without hitting the problems that we've discussed. So last December, we kicked off a project to actually sort this out. So we are Team 5.0, and I think there's a few of them in here. We have people from design and software and QA and content. We're doing several other different things as well, but Crimewatch is kind of one of the big things that we're working on. One of the first things we did was a black box testing, which was, as a player, what can Crimewatch do and how do I interact with it? So it was almost like a reverse engineering of the spec, and it ended up being 41 pages long. Which is longer than manuals for most other games. And then based on that, spring of this year, we began and are still going through a software refactoring project. So we're taking all of the Crimewatch we've got and kind of rejigging it, re-implementing a lot of the functionality to try and be as close to it as we can. We're making a few little tweaks, but nothing too significant just yet. So we're in a better position going forward to, I hate that phrase, going forward, to actually add new exciting stuff. And Grayscale over there is going to talk about those in a few minutes. So the first changes are going to be going out in April, about a month from today, I think it is. Most of that you won't notice. It's mostly behind the scenes stuff. That big web of function calls that I said earlier, that's getting a bit nice now. It's split into kind of more discrete pieces. And then going forward from there, design are working on Crimewatch 2.0, which is going back to basics, figuring out what should Crimewatch do for you as a gameplay feature, and then kind of rebuilding it back up to be something better. And so that is going to be the future of Crimewatch. And to talk about the future, I'm going to hand you over to Grayscale, and he's going to carry on. Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody can hear me? Lovely. Hi, I'm CCP Grayscale. I'm a game designer. I've been doing game design on EVE for like 5 years now. Some of you may have heard of me. We do stuff. So yeah, Crimewatch in the future. Before I start, what I'm going to do basically is just walk you through the changes we're going to make, because that seemed like the easiest way to explain stuff. Before I start, though, I want to make it clear that this is, as Master Plan outlined, we're still working on the refactoring. We have not started coding any of this. It's not been finalized. We're going to change our minds about some of it regardless. So if you see something in this and you go, oh my God, you've broken the game, we've not broken it yet, come and talk to us. Come and talk to us. Come and find us individually. Come to the round table in 2 hours, whatever it is, at 4 o'clock, and tell us why the thing we are doing is dumb, and we will fix it probably. Or, not. With that disclaimer in mind, I'm just going to get on with this. So, things that we want to change. Logging off. Big change to log off we want to make is move everything to a single 15-minute timer. So you get some aggression, you get a 15-minute timer. If you log off while the timer is running, then the timer will run to its end and you'll disappear from space. We want to get rid of this whole 15, 15, 15 thing where you're in space for 14.5 minutes and then you log off and then your Titan gets killed. Instead, you'll be logging off after 14.5 minutes, you'll be in space for 30 seconds, and you're probably safe unless someone probes you down quickly, which they will, and your Titan will die anyway, but whatever. Because we didn't feel the 15, 15, 15 thing was adding a lot, especially we're keeping the super cap fixed, so if you get aggression after you've logged off, it resets your timer. So if someone manages to probe you down and lock you down, then you're going to die regardless. And the way the timers work currently, I don't know if anyone here has tried to explain them to new players. It takes me about 15 minutes to get it through to them, because the first 2 times they're like, it does what? Huh? Anyone else have this experience? Is it just me? Yeah, okay, good. There's a few hands. I'm not talking rubbish. So that is kind of our major plan for logging off. Just one aggression timer, 15 minutes long. Then you disappear if you've logged off. And if someone catches you, then you're dead. Another thing we would like to do further in the future probably is a safe log off thing, so that you can tell your client, I would like to log off, and it says, Your ship is emergency warped. You've got 3 minutes left on your timer because you've logged off too quickly. And then you sit around for 3 minutes and your client says, you've gone, you're safe, you've gone left space, you can close your client, everything is okay. Rather than currently where it's like you close the client and you go, please, 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 please. Which is, again, we don't feel is like the best way to do this. And hopefully it'll be like, or you'll be there, you'll be sitting in space, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, oh my God, ships, log back in, get back on the thing and die anyway, but you know, whatever. It's you have a fighting chance, you know what has happened. Weapons time, this is the thing Marsplan was talking about, the 60-second you can't jump, you can't dock thing. Change that we would like to make here is that if you assist someone who can't jump or dock because their weapons are active, then you can't jump or dock either, because God hates station games. Okay, that went well. It was good. We'll keep that. Yeah, the basic idea is say if you assist someone, their timer is running, your timer starts, and keeps resetting until either you turn your reps off or until their timer runs out. So you understand, I can tell, why this is probably a good change. Now we get to more complex stuff. That's not quite as straightforward to explain, so it's going to take a little bit longer, and I'm going to try and speak slowly so you understand. Criminal flagging, who can shoot who? This is kind of a big thing. We have some goals for this, like specific goals that we wanted to hit for touching this because we realize it's quite an important system to a lot of people. This is not some big controversial new change. You should probably be pretty safe in high sec. This is just a statement of a goal. That's what Concord is for. Like, we're not changing anything with that. That's just like the point of Concord is that you can be suicide gang, but you're pretty safe in high sec. That's somewhat controversial, I know, for some people, but that's the way it is. No surprise Concord sex exploits. We don't like these things. You may have run into this thing in incursions recently while you're sitting there and you're in your Guardian or whatever, remote rapping people, blah, 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 and then one of the guys in the fleet gets a GCC and the entire fleet gets blapped by Concord. There's cases where you can make the argument that, okay, he got killed, but he should have known that what he was doing was risky, he was repping a war target or something, whatever, but getting destroyed while you're running an incursion because of this kind of thing is silly, and we want to try, and I'll explain how we want to address this, but we want to try and eliminate this completely rather than just doing what we do currently and going, oh, we missed one, Band-Aid it, and then we miss another one, and then we Band-Aid it, and then ball of mud. This is how these things happen. We would like it to stop causing so many performance issues, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a little bit slow in low sec, yeah? A little bit, so we'd like that to go away. That would be nice. Jamie, we can make, yeah, it's going to be cool. That's a goal. We would like to make it easy to code for and hard to break for the reasons that Masterplan has just outlined, because we like to be able to make changes to this stuff, and we don't like to get in a situation where no one wants to touch it, because every time we touch it, something crazy breaks. It's very sad. And we would like to make it easy to understand. My original concept doc said that I would like to be able to explain kill rights to somebody in an hour, which is a long amount of time, but we feel that would be an improvement from where we were before, which is that no one knows how it works, so it's effectively infinity, so an hour is a big step down. I would like to hit 5 or 10 minutes, but if I can do it in an hour, that's an improvement. I'm happy with that. So yeah, like, you should be making decisions in game and going, I know what the outcomes are going to be, and then I can make a smart decision. I'm a smart player, or a dumb decision if I'm a dumb player, whatever. But you should know what was going to happen and be able to make decisions. And currently, with a lot of stuff in Crimewatch, you're pressing buttons and praying, and that's not really good gameplay. So, thing we want to move away from. So, and this aggression graphs again. What Masterplan was talking about. We want to get rid of these, which basically means, wherever possible, getting rid of one-to-one flaggings. Everywhere we go, you can kill him, but you can't kill him. But he can kill you. But you can rep him. But he can rep him, but he shot him. And oh God, he's touched that guy, and you're dead. That's kind of the root of all evil from a design point of view in Crimewatch currently, is this horrendous directed graph of like who's allowed to touch who. That's where all the exploits come from and everything. So our goal is to make that go away. And I'm going to explain how we're going to probably make that go away. We split types of actions you can do up into 3 distinct, clear types of actions. You have legal actions. You can do a legal action with no penalty. Killing NPCs usually is that. Undocking is a legal action for the most part. I'm pretty sure it's always legal. Misdemeanors, which is we couldn't find better way. Yeah, it's slightly illegal things. Stealing from people's cans, killing ships in low sec is like it's somewhat illegal. It's things that would give you a kill right or like an aggression currently and let you kill them. That's these things, and then felonies. I don't like the terminology, but that's what worked. Very illegal things. Anything that Concord shows up for, anything that gets you a GCC, that's very illegal. Different things. So we have these 3 separate things, which gives us 3 statuses players can have. They can be completely innocent. Well, mostly innocent, they're Eve players. They can be suspects, they've done a recent misdemeanor, or they can be criminals, they've done a recent felony. That's kind of, well, 3.5 things because we've got war targets, and oh god, war targets. Because we have to keep a bit of directional, like, you can shoot him, but you can't, because you're not at war with him, and that's how wars work and what they're for. So they make things difficult, but we're working around that. But let's ignore them for now, because it makes the presentation easier. So this is kind of I guess the big change here is there's like this explicit idea of a suspect flag, rather than having all these individual things. If you do anything, do a minor crime, you do a misdemeanor, you become a suspect for like 15 minutes, whatever. If you're a suspect, then anyone can shoot you without penalty. That's a big change. It's mostly desirable on its own because we think it's probably a better way of doing it, and it's very much desirable once we realize that that gets rid of the directed graph and it makes Crimewatch not explode and everything is better and clearer and simpler. We think it's probably worth doing. And related to this, obviously, anyone assisting a suspect becomes a suspect. So, nice, clean system. You're either not a suspect or you are a suspect. You can see who is and isn't. If you're going to wreck this guy, we know he's a suspect, we know we're going to get the flag. None of this, like, who can shoot him, and we're in a fleet, and I can shoot him, and you can shoot him, but he's in a different fleet, and he's on our side, and he can't shoot him, but he can shoot him, and he can, yes, no, bad. And then we have the criminal flag, which is just the old GCC, again, Concord turns up and kills you in high sec. Yeah, okay, let me explain this line. So currently, as you're probably aware, CCP has a very explicit policy that if you evade Concord, then that's an exploit, and you're a very bad person, and will do something to you. But we rely on these silly little NPCs to do the work for us, and they're kind of fallible, and you can get into orcas, and you can get out of orcas, and you can swap ships, and you can jump through. We can't jump through, I must stop that. But we're all aware of this kind of stuff, so we are considering possibly adding, for example, a death ray, and just saying, screw it. Huh? Step forward. Okay, now I get blinded, that's lovely. That's probably why the lights can see me. I like that, yeah. So, still thinking about this, but knocking on the idea of just like, let's get rid of that whole class of like, oh god, you evaded Concord, and just go, be done with the whole thing. Safety systems. Don't boo me. This is good. The basic idea here that we're knocking around is that you have two sets of safeties. You have a suspect flag safety and a criminal flag safety. And you have to turn those off before you can do those things. So if I'm in a fleet and I'm repping people, and I do something and someone gets a GCC, it goes, your safeties are on, your reps are off. Nice and simple. There's no chance of, and this eliminates that entire chance of like, oh, you accidentally did something, you were in an incursion fleet and you all died. If your safeties are on, then you cannot do that, and there's a nice big pop-up saying, hey, if you're a new player and someone has told you to push this button, they're trying to kill you. Which is basically what it is. There's also an advantage for, I think, for existing players that if you're in that position where you want to suicide gang someone, you're sitting in your tornado and you're very happy at the G to undock, blah, 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 and then you like, that guy, and you click him and you press your gun, and it says, are you sure? And yes, I'm sure. With this system, you turn your safeties off first, and then it's like, that guy, popped, and then you're dead because of the death ray bit. So this seems like it's probably better for everybody. It's not better for the scammers, but they'll find something else to scam where we have faith in them. They'll be fine. There's a graph. Okay, so that's the end of the... This is a really good graph. Yeah. That's the end of the discussion about about criminal flagging. I just wanted to like put a nice divider in before the next bit, which is sex status. Ooh. Everyone knows what sex status is, right? I assume there's some pirates in here somewhere. Okay, good. So, don't want to get to that yet. We'll get to that in a second. So, a lot of the impetus in the change here. Let me finish. I shouldn't have pressed that button. I spoiled the surprise. We had a suggestion from a lot of players, which we thought made a lot of sense, that something like this happens. If you kill someone with a suspect flag, which means you've been ganking people in lows or whatever, this will only take you down to -5, so you can't get locked out of high sec just for being somewhat bad. That was the player suggestion. We thought it was okay. If you think you hate it, come talk to us. So that's kind of the first step we had. And then we have this step. If you have a criminal flag, you get a bigger hit, and that could take you to -10. And killing pods in low sec gives you one of these flags. Not because we think pods are sacrosanct and they should be kept safe because they're all cute and stuff, but because we know that some people are low-sec pirates who quite like being -10. So we had to put a thing in to let them get there. And pod killing seemed like a reasonable thing. Like, if you're just ganking for money, you're looking for loot, whatever, for easy kills, you're bored, whatever, pod is not a big deal, but it gives people that way to go, I'm going to be -10, screw you. Again, come talk to us at the round table if you don't like this, but this seemed like a reasonable compromise to us. Another change in this new system that we're thinking about is killing someone above +5 while you're a suspect gives you a hit down to -10. What is +5? Ooh, above +5, ooh. Yeah, so I'll get to in a second, but basically this will give you an extra thing. Killing someone with negative sec gives a sec boost. Ooh. Up to +10. And with makers in place to stop you farming your ults, because we know you will farm your ults if you can. So the hope that this gives us is we have this interesting situation where you have these +5s and these like -4s, and the vigilantes are like the +5, +6 guys. The -4 guys don't really want to engage them because that will take us down below -5 and that'll be bad. But the people with the high stack status, if they start the fight, they get a suspect flag, they get a sec hit. So, you know, there's this kind of Mexican standoff, but then if they catch the pirates killing someone, the pirates have the flag and then they can kill them safely. And then hopefully this will lead to kind of an interesting little ecosystem in low sec, and then the -10 is just everyone kills them because they're bad people. And then this, we would like to change, well, considering changing the way you get sec back from NPCs, rather than just making it a grind, we make it based on the commander and officer tags. You turn an attack, you get a boost. Only up to -5, you have to be a proper policeman to get above that, and less effect below -5. The consequence of this is that you can still just go out and kill NPCs if you want to get your sec back, or you can buy them off the market. But to buy it off the market, you're buying it from the player, and you ground the ISK up to buy those tags, so you've done some grinding. There's someone in space killing NPCs. It's basically the same thing, but you don't have to do it through NPCs if you don't want to. You can go play the market and pay for your sec that way. Yes, with the ransom money. Sure. This would also involve fixing the way spawns happen after downtime. I know it will make some people sad, but it's stupid. There shouldn't be advantages for logging on a particular time zone, so that if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I mean. If you don't know, then it's okay, it doesn't affect you. Yeah, so that's the kind of changes we want to make to how it works. What it will do is if you're under -5, you can be killed on low sec without penalty. And if you're below -5, the police will chase you everywhere in high sec, but with the police getting stronger and stronger as your sec goes down and as the sec of the system goes up. So we get rid of this whole like, oh god, I have to check every system on my autopilot to make sure none of them is in 1.0 because then I'll die. That just seemed like it was adding more complexity we didn't need. So police chase you everywhere, but you still need to kind of keep half an eye on where you're at to make sure that they're not going to gank you too hard. There's a graph of a pie chart. It's a pie chart. So that's the end of the sec status discussion. It's another nice intermediate slide, and then we have a couple of smaller things that we can bash through quickly. Kill mails. We'd like to make kill mails better. Team Super Friends will be talking about war later. They have a thing called a war report, which is really cool. It's like aggregates kills for the war in a nice way with extra stats. We'd like to do that for everybody later. So you'll have like a battle report for each battle, and it'll have all the kill mails for the battle and all the stats for the battle and some extra stats and who's rep to and fun things like that. We'd love to put more data in the API, or CREST as it's now called, or whatever. You'll find out about that tomorrow. It's cool. Because most of the interesting analysis is happening, we think, on kill boards, and we'd like to put more data up there. We don't want to clog our UI with a zillion things, but if we can log like X, Y, Z coordinates for every kill, for example, in the API, that would be cool. Yeah, I made a forum thread asking for input. I don't know if anyone saw that, but that's what this is about. This will happen later, though, because we need some more logging voodoo to make it work good, or people over there will hurt me. And then we would like to make the UI better in relatively uncontroversial ways, like if you have a timer on it, you should be able to see it, and if it tells you 10 minutes, it should mean 10 minutes, not 15 minutes. And that's probably because there's technical reasons why it's not the case currently, and I'm sure that these technical reasons can be made to go away, but yeah, technical things are technical things. I don't understand them. I'm not a designer. And here's a mock-up that the CCP Arrow made last year. This is not representative of anything final. This is just like, look, UI is prettier, and we like it when it's pretty and shiny and has spinny things. Something cool to make you see what the timers are. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, Crimewatch is kind of a big ball of mud. It's got there for very sensible reasons that we, in retrospect, we're less happy with. Master plan is refactoring it all, making it all nice code-wise so it's nice and modular and shit, and then we're going to pull out the modules and put it in better design, hopefully. Come to the round table at 6 o'clock if you want it. 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, 4 o'clock round table in 4. Leave me alone. I have a long week. Yeah, do we have any questions? Because we have time for questions. We have time for questions?
We have, yes.
Someone standing in front of the clock. Okay, everyone up there, can you just move? Yeah, you, that guy. Yeah, cool. Yeah,
yeah, we have. We have a mic here. If
Make the
anybody wants to come down and ask anything. We do.
Yes. Make the microphone.
Have you considered splitting the system up into a couple of different systems rather than leaving one giant ball?
Yes, that's one of the refactoring things we're doing. So the loot rights, all of that is now its own system, independent of Crimewatch, and then we're going to like pull more and more systems out of Crimewatch to be their own system. So yeah.
Yeah. And there's still a certain amount of like gameplay interaction they need to have, but hopefully.
I thought Brian was going to give us a tough question then.
About that stuff.
Is that actually on?
Who do you want? Who do you want?
I don't know. Just you do it, Brian.
I got this.
Use the hair.
You're right here, so here you are.
You mentioned earlier in your presentation that you left out complications due to war declaration mechanics. If you had tried to include that, how much longer would your presentation would have been?
Not that much longer, but I speak really quickly, so that's not really a good measure of anything. It's more just a case of it throws a bit of a span in the works, but we think we can deal with it. But it may involve a few people being slightly unhappy because we've made them like, you assisted a war, so therefore now you're a suspect. Sorry. Because what we don't want to have is we have to have a situation where wars are flagged to each other, and that's kind of like a distinct little bit of flagging, but we don't want to then be adding people to the war in a ad hoc manner because you repped him, so therefore you're in the war. That's kind of something I'm trying to avoid because...
Yeah. Neutral remote reps are bad.
Yeah, stop doing it. Might work.
So in the past, you guys have said you use iterative Scrum development. When are you going to actually use a decent QA system? Such as BVTs, unit tests before the devs checked in, maybe a cruise control server to track who breaks the build, things like that. Things that real people who actually code do.
CCP Goliath, if he's here, I don't know if he is, but he is doing a QA talk sometime. Find it on the schedule, go to that and ask him that question.
He'll love you for it.
Are there any plans to make -10 characters flashy by default? If not, why not?
-10 characters flashy by default. Oh, I changed it.
Didn't they used to be and you changed it?
Yeah, I changed it, yeah. The reason I changed it is because when we were redoing the overview stuff, the defaults at least, the idea was that people who are flashy can kill you. People who are not flashy cannot kill you. And that seemed like a fairly reasonable distinction. I mean, obviously, it upset some people, and we understand that. But it's kind of useful for people to be able, because in -10s, like, they're bad people, but if you're in a high sec, a -10 is not, okay, he probably is going to kill you because he's a suicide ganker, but you know what I mean?
Somebody in a flashy pod isn't anything you need to worry about.
It's also true. That's what happened with that.
Sentimental value, like.
Yeah. That wasn't fair. Next question.
Are you going to sort it that -10 players that remote wrap each other and don't get GCC'd and shot by gate guns constantly? Not in combat, just when we're doing sites and stuff.
That is something I would love to do, and I would have missed that desperately from when I was a pirate. If Matt lets me do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. Sure.
Hi, I've got a few questions obligatory about faction warfare and how this is going to work, because at the moment we've got some mechanics which absolutely screw us over. Like one you said was the remote repping for station games. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of the stuff in low sec isn't station games always, it's gate games, which are a bit different. So there's going to be issues there with trying to de-aggress with RR, surely. Mm-hmm. other questions I've got is, like, we've got rules now about alliances and certain standings you have to get. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Crimewatch also go into your faction standings as well?
That's a lot of questions in one go.
Well, well, it does faction warfare LP and does a whole bunch of other things like that. So,
Yeah.
and it does bounty. So, would it not be a fair assumption to assume it also does faction standings as part of those calculations?
Making assumptions about Crimewatch. Sorry. I'm sorry, no, that's a completely legitimate question.
No, because like at the moment, it's like you shoot certain NPC corps and you'll lose your standings.
Oh, you're talking
like Empire standings.
You're talking about like the inherited standings from one faction to another, and they all
like
move.
you know, I end up shooting somebody who's a Mar, an Mar NPC, and I can end up losing my standings such that my corp can be kicked out of an alliance because of the new mechanics of 0.5, and you've got 48 hours to fix it and all that sort of stuff. Such that I've now got my CEO going, make sure you don't shoot Mar NPC court members, just flying around low sec. It's like, well, that seems a bit bullshit. When if I see someone, I want to shoot them, I shouldn't have to be seeing if they're an NPC or Mar guy, so I have problems with militia. And I think a lot of the faction warfare guys would probably also have those similar concerns.
Yeah, it's something we will look at. There's a factional warfare talk as well, isn't there?
Yep. And a roundtable, I think.
Yeah. I'm not going to say what they're talking about because I'm not sure how much they've pre-announced, but it sounds like something they would be interested in. And as far as the inherited standing stuff go, we may tweak it so it's not a problem. If it's causing a problem that you can't fight when you want to fight, then that does suck. So maybe we should make that better.
Will gate guns shoot suspects? Will that get you aggressive? Because you mentioned it sounded like shooting a ship in low sec is going to be suspect, not GCC. But how does that interact with gate guns?
Do you think they should shoot suspects?
Are you a pirate?
Hands up if you think they should shoot suspects. And hands up if you think they shouldn't.
Hands up if you're regularly engaged in piracy. Yeah. Checking.
No, but my concern is if you have stealing from a can and shooting a ship in low sec in the same category, how is that going to work with gate guns?
That's a good question. I'll get back to you on that. I don't know yet. I haven't thought about that, honestly. The design is not finished. But I will think about that, and that's a good point. Make note of myself.
Will there still be delay between Concord, attacking player, and Concord showing up? This is relatively important to those of us who engage in ICE interdiction.
Yeah, okay, I know what you mean. I would say yes, but I'm not sure how long that delay will be. It might be 0.1 of a second.
It depends.
No,
it depends how more efficient the more efficient thing becomes.
Yeah.
I think still want to allow people to do that because Eve is dangerous no matter where you are. It's just degrees of more or less dangerous.
Maybe. I don't know, that's a good question. I'll think about that. It may also be, for example, if we do some kind of death ray thing, we do a warp scrambling ray, and then we do a death ray 5 seconds later, or something. Because, I take your point that there is this thing built in the system currently where there are these intentional different levels of delay, and we should probably preserve that where possible.
We've been mentioning over the last few FunFests to start implementing the corruption thing, where like regular piracy within a system would cause the security status to degrade even further, and even at the end, the gate guns could be hacked to assist the pirates. Have you guys ever started doing anything regarding this stuff? And also, that pie chart was definitely a lemon tart, not a pie.
Sorry?
That was a tart, not a pie.
You got told.
Snap. It's a pie tart. What's your problem?
The tart chart.
Yeah, the additional low-sec stuff. Low-sec is something that needs a lot of love in and of itself. We are not doing that right now because we have a big enough ball of stuff to deal with. That's something. Talk to Soundwave. Tell them to schedule it. Don't talk to Soundwave. I'll get really mad. Talk to Sound. Don't tell them it was me. Next question. Hey.
Is there any plans to actually develop the pirate NPC course so that there's actually a reason to be a pirate rather than just the random, oh, I feel like blowing someone up?
Plans, sure. When they're going to happen, I have no idea. That again is like it's not on our immediate radar, and I don't have a view beyond the immediate radar over the next 6-12 months at the moment. So, talk to Soundwave. Don't tell them it was me. Everyone just go talk to Soundwave. He loves it. Everybody's not here.
Hello. Are there any plans to put in kill mails for self-destructing ships?
Yes.
So I assume nobody likes that idea.
Horrible idea.
Yes, that seems like a very good thing. We should
my
do
to-do
that.
list. Kill mails for self-destructing ships and kill mails for putting things into reinforce. Someone asked that, and it made sense to me. So, but no one here cares about that because you're pirates. You don't kill structures. That's fine.
There was a rumor about being able to scan for and find boosters, find the illegal stuff in ISAC and tag people as suspects. Is that part of the system? And so we can shoot them if they're hauling something wrong, or is that still not in coding phase?
Play customs.
Smuggling and contraband and that kind of thing.
Not us. I don't think.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
not
close to
something
us.
we have on our plan, but I don't know, to be honest.
Talk to Soundwave.
Punt. There are some players that went to the effort to get a high standing with Pirate Corps, like Sanchas. Are there plans to make them able to support Sanchas in HiSec?
It's one of those things that we'd love to do, but not this year probably. I would assume. Beyond that, it would be cool. I mean, we should do more stuff with Pirate Corps. They're there, and then they're kind of not there. And by the time you get to the point in the game where you can actually make use of the Pirate Corps, you've already destroyed your standings with them. There's a whole world of things in there that just need attention that we should look at some point.
He's asking, for the people not in the mic, should we do that as the opposite of factional warfare, where you side with the Sancha?
I don't want to say too much because not because we're doing it or anything, but because it will make Eterbium's life even more difficult if I talk about this stuff. No, the system supports it. The basic code of factional warfare supports three-way fights because I decided that was a good idea in 2008. For the most part, it doesn't support them out of the box. There's more development work than he's doing, but there's assumption in the code that you can have 3, 4, 5 N-way fights if you wanted to. So pitch it to someone. Pitch it to Soundwave.
I think it's tomorrow in TQ, isn't it?
Yep, there's a big talk from Eterbium tomorrow in TQ, and he may have a roundtable, I don't know, but he's actually the guy you want to talk to because he's got that in his hands.
So the tweet fleet and the people listening on audio kindly request that you stop clicking your thing.
Is that really loud?
Apparently so. Apparently so.
Hang on.
Bad, Matthew. Right.
So when I was listening, I honestly thought there was going to be some discussion of when you were talking about how people can now go above +5, and you have the people who are at -10. The thought that immediately popped into my head was rewards, like LP rewards for -10 players killing +10 players, and vice versa, as a way, because a lot of people, when they're talking about piracy, they say there's no way to support that ISK-wise. So if you could get LP for killing, something in there. Bad players killing good players and vice versa.
That's interesting.
You know he's thinking when he makes that noise. That's probably a good sign.
That's interesting. I'm not sure that's in scope for what we're doing right now because we've already got quite a large system to redo, but that's interesting. I'll think about it.
So I think we have time for one more question, and then we need to move over. So make it a good one.
All right. So when you in the process of refactoring the Crimewatch code, will you be fixing bugs, or are you just refactoring it?
No, he's spending a lot of time making sure that we implement all the current bugs exactly as they are in the new code.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That was difficult. Jamie, answer the man's question.
Yeah. Where I can fix issues like that as part of the refactoring, I'm definitely going to be doing that. Some of the bugs are more down to incomplete edge cases in the design. Bugs like broken timers and so on, I'm definitely going to be trying to fix those. Things like, I can't think of a good example, but where you think something probably should be behaving slightly differently, but it's probably doing what it's intended to do, then we will look at the design behind that and probably change the whole mechanic.
And quick second follow-up to that. There's a lot of documentation about how aggression works now in EVE.
Mm-hmm.
With the new rules you're proposing, if those come to fruition, will there be plenty of documentation to bring everybody else who plays EVE who's not in this room up to speed on that?
Yes, we want to make the documentation first and then make the system do what the documentation says.
All right.
At the moment, the documentation is the code. So whatever the code says, that's what the system is supposed to do.
And if I say it's wrong, then someone throws it back saying it's by design because it's what it does.
Yeah.
So I think that's us about done.
Sorry, everybody else.
Thanks, Brian, for running.
Thank you. Cheers.
Sorry I'm so harsh on you. I'm a dev too, so